Hey guys, Tom here again from synth.com. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down a lead synth from my new preset pack, heavily inspired by the duo ARTBAT. The demonstration I'm about to show you is a little longer than usual, but I think it's important to get a sense for the sound in context. So let's have a listen and then we'll start making the sound from scratch. So I hope you like the sound. I was really happy with how it turned out, especially given there's no external processing apart from some sidechain and EQ. What's also really great about this patch is that it's not actually too complex. Most of the character comes from Serum's effects, including importantly the delay, which we'll be covering towards the end of the video, so be sure to stick around for that. We're going to open an initialized patch in Serum, but just before we get started, as always, if you do want to help support these videos and get your hands on some high quality presets for Serum, you can head on over to synth.com or click the link in the description. So the first thing we're going to do is quickly set up a pluck-like amplitude envelope so you can get a better sense of what's going on with the MIDI. So there's two aspects of this melody that I think are very important to point out. Firstly being that we have a very strong sense of the root note and scale of the track through this repeating D note. In tracks like this that are essentially just one chord throughout, having the main bulk of your MIDI notes playing the root note of the scale you're in not only helps to tie the other melodic elements together, but also, in my opinion, adds to the hypnotic feel we're going for. Secondly, although our melody as a whole fits into a normal 4/4 time signature, the first four notes are actually a 4/3 polyrhythm, essentially just meaning that there are four notes every 3 beats. This is more obvious if we loop just these notes and take a listen against the hi-hats. We'll come back to this when we get to add in delay later on. The wavetable I used for this patch was the analog basic Moog. To add a little harmonic interest, I used the amplitude envelope to modulate the wavetable position. While this might seem like an insignificant step, little details like this really add up, especially when combined with a lot of processing and effects. Next, we're going to use a 12 dB low-pass filter in combination with our amplitude envelope to get the pluck-like harmonic shape we're after. We're also going to route some noise through the filter just to dirty up the sound a little bit. Before we go crazy with effects, we're also just going to add some analog style pitch drift by jumping into the mod matrix, using Serum's chaos oscillator to modulate the master tune, bringing down the output and amount sliders to a sensible range. Again, although a small detail, when you consider that this pitch modulation is also going to affect the output of the delay and reverb, you can really start to see how these things add up. Speaking of effects, let's start adding some with some tape saturation. As you can hear, this just helps to bring out some more harmonics, giving us a richer sound, which when working on tracks like this with very few elements is important for creating a full sounding mix. One thing I've always found curious about techno is how a lot of artists are able to create highly danceable tracks even with very straight drum patterns and bass lines. Now, a big part of this is the earlier mentioned use of polyrhythms and how they relate to swing. That topic is a little outside the scope of this video. If you do want to learn more about this, I'll link to an amazing blog post below which breaks down the relationship between polyrhythm and swing using the great Jay Dilla as a case study. Specifically when designing leads for Anthem, what I discovered is how important a role delay can play in generating or supporting these rhythms. Listen to how when we bring the default delays mix amount up to nearly halfway, we end up with a rhythmically rich sequence, especially when combined with the straight groove hi-hats. As a general rule of thumb, if the melody itself already contains polyrhythmic elements, I've found keeping a simple straight delay time works best to accent this. For example, if we change our delay time to triplets, the results in combination with our polyrhythmic melody sound a little messy. If, on the other hand, you have a simpler melody like a 16th note arpeggiation, for example, triplet or dotted delays can be used to create the polyrhythms themselves. Now, luckily in this case, the default quarter note measure works perfectly, but this is also something to dial into your particular melody. For example, if we increase the delay time to an 8th note, even though rhythmically it kind of works, the result is just way too busy. Now, because our melody is essentially playing throughout the whole track with no deviation, one parameter that we can really experiment with is the feedback. Because we don't have to worry about sudden chord changes, we can push this to quite a high amount, creating even more of a hypnotic texture. Additionally, if we want to create more separation between the lead and the delay, while also creating some width, we can switch the delay to ping pong mode. Let's add some final touches with some reverb and a little high shelf EQ to bring out the highs a little more when the filter is closed. You may have noticed that in the demo I automated the filter cutoff. One really cool thing about having quite an extreme delay is that small changes in our filter will create evolving textures down the line. To demonstrate this, I'm going to loop part of our demo and manually adjust the filter cutoff throughout. Pay attention to how when the filter opens and closes at different times, different parts of our melody get highlighted. So there we have it. I hope you took some useful tips away from this video for creating your own melodic techno and house leads. One thing I love about working with techno is that the simpler arrangements, in my opinion, allow even more expression through sound design. If you would also like to see a video covering the bass sound in the demo, do let me know in the comments. That's actually also a modified patch from Anthem for Serum, so again, if you do check that out, thanks in advance. That's about it for this video though, guys. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.
you.